Hey everyone, welcome to Whispers of Turkish Stars. Settle in, because all the hidden whispers and the real heartbeat behind the headlines are in this video. Before we dive into everything, make sure you subscribe and share so you don't miss the next twist. Thank you for being here. In the last few weeks, the spotlight has swung back to Yağmur Yüksel, not just for her career moves but for what people think she's feeling behind the curtain. The conversation started buzzing again after comments attributed to her longtime friend, Barış, began to ripple through circles close to the set world. Barış, who has known Yağmur for years and watched her navigate the push and pull of the industry, reportedly opened up about the private maze Yağmur had been walking through, and her words lit a fuse in the gossip corridors. According to whispers from that gathering, Barış confided that Yağmur has spent a long time taking a back seat to her own happiness. She allegedly spoke, with that grounded frankness she's known for, about how the relationship with Baktaş weighed heavy toward the end. The tension, the family friction, the constant expectation to hold everything together. Barış is said to have painted a picture of a young woman so tightly wound by responsibilities that she could barely breathe in her own home. In that recounting, the most telling shift was that Yağmur, after stepping away, began reclaiming herself piece by piece, as if finally hearing her own pulse again. And that's exactly what those close to her say is happening. Behind the scenes, Yağmur has been choosing quiet over noise. Though her filming schedule hasn't slowed down, she's adjusting the rhythm of her life around it rather than letting it dictate everything. Friends describe small, steady changes: morning coffee with family instead of a rushed phone call, choosing weekends filled with familiar faces rather than public events, and social media posts that feel more like windows than performances. The images she shares give off an ease that wasn't there before, a gentle clarity in her eyes that fans keep commenting on. While Barış's comments are making the rounds, Yağmur remains silent. There's been no big statement to confirm or deny anything. The same goes for Barış. That quiet, instead of calming the speculation, has only stoked more of it. Everyone's asking the same question: what really happened? It's been said again and again that this break wasn't just about two people drifting. That the walls got higher and the air got thinner, especially toward the end. And yet, even with all the guessing, neither side has weighed in with an official word. Insiders say Yağmur has consciously stepped back from letting her private life star in the public arena. People close to her call this a period of full reset. She's letting her craft lead the way, but she's also guarding a new sanctuary of calm as she prepares for the next chapter. The careful circle of friends around her has rallied, sending messages, showing up, and laying down a kind of soft landing for her. Among them, Barış's presence seems to be a steadying force, firm, protective, and deeply empathetic. The media's gaze, relentless as always, has locked onto one detail from Barış's alleged recounting: the claim that during the final stretch of her relationship with Baktaş, the pressure on Yağmur became relentless. The friction wasn't only between them. It spilled into their separate worlds, schedules, families, expectations, all intersecting where their patience wore thin. Those who know them speak with a certain sadness about two people who cared, but kept trying to negotiate a life that wouldn't stop pulling at the seams. What caught everyone's attention in Barış's reported words was this: that Yağmur felt she had to be the fixer in a situation that kept shifting, that she woke up every day thinking she needed to anticipate trouble before it even arrived. Imagine the weight of that. And imagine that when she finally looked up and surveyed all that effort, she saw a woman who had gone quiet inside. It is said that, now, with distance, she's grateful for choosing herself, grateful for stepping out of a storm that didn't let up. And that can be seen in how she carries herself now. In recent days, there's a looseness in her laugh during casual moments caught on camera, a softness in the way she shows up for her loved ones, and a steady focus in the work she's choosing. People around her describe this phase as a rebirth, nothing flashy, just honest. A return to ordinary joys and a disciplined devotion to her projects. She said, privately, that she feels renewed. Not because everything is easy, but because she's not negotiating her own peace away. After Barış's statements began echoing through the industry, attention shifted to Barış. Would he speak? Would his family step in to frame the narrative? So far, nothing. That silence has become its own headline. Some say it's a strategic choice, the cleanest route in a situation where anything spoken could crack open fresh drama. Others suggest it's simply a boundary, a way to keep at least one thing unperformative in a life that's always on display. But it leaves the public hovering in a state of curiosity that refuses to settle. Behind closed doors, the talk is that Yağmur has set a clear line for herself. Work is the anchor. She's reading scripts, training, leaning into new roles that ask more of her range. Friends say her confidence is turning a corner, that she's not just coming back, she's stepping forward, needing less permission from the world and more from her own instincts. The routines she's maintaining, from early walks to late-night script work, signal a life rearranged with intention. Let's go back to what stirred this whole wave, the conversation where Beryl supposedly poured her heart out among friends. The room was small, the people were trusted, but word traveled anyway. As it does. Beryl, who is not quick to dramatize what doesn't need dramatizing, allegedly described the woman she admired who was slowly being drained by the quiet wars of expectation. She said there were days when the disagreements between their families made ordinary decisions feel like a referendum. She said that, toward the end, even their happiest plans were overshadowed by what everyone else wanted from them. Beryl's most striking reflection, if the retellings are accurate, was this, that the moment Yağmur chose to step away, she didn't collapse. She stood up a little taller. That it wasn't just an exit from a relationship, but a retreat from the surrounding storm, the noise that was threatening to swallow whatever softness was left between them. Freedom, in her words, was not a celebration but a quiet exhale. Fans who have followed Yağmur can sense something shifting in her. They say it in comments under her photos, that her light looks different now, cleaner, like the air right after rain. She's not performing for the camera so much as simply existing in front of it, and that difference is hard to fake. At the same time, the people who care about both her and Barış say nothing that happened here is simple. They shared real life, not just the filtered version, and there were long stretches of tenderness that the public never saw. That's why none of this has been loud. Sometimes silence is respect. And yet, the public keeps asking if that silence will break. Will there be a joint statement? A final, tidy explanation? Right now, there's nothing to suggest it's coming. Those around them hint that closure, for both of them, is being found privately. That, in their own ways, they've each chosen the dignity of quietly stitching themselves back together. It bears repeating that none of this erases who they are beyond the headlines. Barış is a charismatic presence with a pace that's hard to match, a man who moves between projects with a focus that can look like distance from the outside. Yağmur has always held herself with warmth and care, loyal to a fault, but with a new edge of self-protection that's well earned. Put those elements together and you get a chemistry that can be breathtaking and a friction that can be exhausting. It's a mix that doesn't become easier just because the world is watching. Often, it becomes heavier. What gives this moment its poignancy is that there's no villain in sight, just human limits. The work, the families, the noise, those are the antagonists that press on anyone who lives their life in public. And the people closest to Yağmur say that stepping back allowed her to feel like herself again. Not an actress performing ease, but a woman actually experiencing it. For now, the shape of things remains the same. A soft-spoken new beginning, a quiet chapter that favors ordinary days over grand gestures. She's turning toward what steadies her, and that steadiness is visible even to those who only witness it through screens. The messages of support coming in from her circle have been a cushion, and Beryl's steadfast loyalty, in particular, has reportedly been a lifeline, a reminder that truthful friendship can be its own form of recovery. Of course, with every whisper from the inside, curiosity sharpens around Barış. When will he choose to add his thread to the story, if ever? His silence has been read a dozen ways, as restraint, as uncertainty, as a line he refuses to cross. Whatever the reason, it's consistent. And in a world that thrives on reaction, consistency has its own power. It leaves the public talking, but it also avoids the cycle that chews up context and spits out headlines. There's one more thread to tug on. People who have been near both of them during these months speak about a season of change that neither expected. That while they were trying to build something solid, their lives kept rearranging the furniture around them. When schedules pulled them apart, when families weighed in, when the instinct to protect collided with the need to be understood, the distance grew. And sometimes, love isn't the issue, timing is. What matters, if you believe those who care for Yağmur, is that she's coming back to herself without bitterness. She's setting a route that feeds both her craft and her calm. She's finding joy in things that don't need applause. And, yes, she's still ambitious, maybe more than ever, but the ambition is clearer now. Less about winning everything and more about choosing what doesn't cost her peace. As for what comes next, the industry is watching. Scripts are being considered. Doors are opening. There's a sense that the role she leans into from here will carry a deeper gravity, shaped by what she's learned about her own boundaries. And there's a quiet agreement among her friends that she's not hiding. She's choosing. There's a difference. So we end where we began, with a woman who stepped out of a storm and an artist who kept his counsel. With two people who, whatever happened between them, have chosen mute buttons over megaphones. Maybe the full story will never be told publicly. Maybe it shouldn't be. For now, the clearest truths are the simplest ones. She looks lighter, he remains composed, and the world keeps guessing. We'll keep listening. We'll keep paying attention to what's said and what isn't. And if the silence breaks, you'll hear it here first. This is Whispers of Turkish Stars, and that's the heartbeat behind the rumor. If you enjoyed this deep dive, make sure you're subscribed, share this video with a friend who follows every twist, and stay close. The next chapter always arrives sooner than you think.